and your body protects the basket line. So what do you think the basket line is? Yep, so wherever the ball to the basket is, so that line, when the ball in the basket, the body's just going to block that line. Okay, so can you picture me? Tom, just kind of dribble around in this area and just stay on the basket line there. Keep your body on the basket line. Just slowly, so keep your face across over here. You're doing like a dribbling drill. Good. Alright, stop there. So feet guard feet, hands guard the ball, body guards the basket line, or protects the basket line. So you always stay between the ball and the basket when you're on the ball. I'll try to play defense. Okay, so when we're in that position and the ball is live, we want to be able to get down nice and low. And you saw in the video, like the hand strike, so palms up is good because it means you're balanced. So what we want you to do now is get in the defensive stance and be active with your feet, light on your feet. And I want you to try and dig at the ball, right, like spearing the ball. But as you're doing that, try and stay as balanced as you can and keep your head centered. You got that? You just do the same thing. Kind of just dribble around in this area. Okay, ready, Hunter? Okay, defensive stance. Good. Stop there. Quick 2 more. So you just jump off, give me 2 more, and then get another pair ready to go. And all you do is demo for like 10 seconds. Who wants to play D? Troy. Alright, you're good booster, ready? Alright, here we go. You don't want to be good. Now, offense, protect that basketball. Okay? Protect the basketball. So just stand up now, fellas. Get the next 2, then the next 2, get a couple of balls. And we're just going to demo for the coaches because they've got their coach's eye right now. They're looking at stuff for feedback. Alright, here we go. Basket line. Try with the hands. With the hands. Good. Right, next 2. I'm just doing this next thing.
Hey man.
Yeah.
I know Mel talked about it, she used the analogy like a snake like digging in, like to go from up to dig in.
Yeah, she's big at that.
Like what's your preference for going under the
most importantly, stay balanced. I think as long as your head's centered, it's a little bit, you're there, like those strikes, like the snake. Like the hands up, shows the referees a little bit. Okay. It's just personal preference, but I think the thing is, do you have active hands and are you balanced? And then it's up to you. You can coach whichever. As long as you've got a reason for it. So, you guys rotate every 10 seconds. Because it's not. I don't even need to watch light. You guys are going to train the guards really well. Alright, good job. Just stop there. So, any other comments on what we saw? Like what was good, or like just think about when you're watching the players doing drills or whatever, and if you're at your own practice session, what would you give positive feedback to, or what would you correct? I guess that's kind of the format of what we want the clinic to be. So, anyone want to?
How wide do you want the base to be?
How wide base?
Yeah.
Okay, so just come out the ball. Again, you play on offense. I'll play you on D. Alright, I got you for this one. Okay. So, feet guard feet. So, actually, just come to the flip one. So, I'll take it from a situation where he hasn't dribbled the basketball yet. Alright, so just pick a pivot foot, it doesn't matter which one. But my feet need to be outside his feet, because generally offenses play feet beneath hips, you know, and then you obviously jab and that sort of stuff, but a neutral sort of stance, so I need to be wider than that. So feet slightly outside my hips. What we're really big on at the moment is taking away the dominant side of a player's body. So you might be, does anyone coach send it sideline, baseline? You're on that? Yeah, I mean, my first 10, 15 years, every textbook, every clinic I went to was all sideline, baseline. And as long as all your other rules are consistent to that's okay. And I'll give you one example. George and I were talking about this. So quickly, so jump back in, play D, get your chest to the sideline, alright, and send it to that baseline. And then give me an offense and defense in the post, and a wide offense. Quickly, go, come boys, let's get. And then an D in the post. Alright, what's your name? Post and D. Alright, great. Okay, and you play your D, sideline, baseline. It's not going to go middle. If he goes middle, unfortunately, you're not runs. Right? Okay, we hang out together on the bench. Does Does anyone see the problem with that? Straight pass to the, you've got to speak up for the video because this is going to go viral. So,
Straight past the post.
yeah. So, I don't, and then we call it seal assist, so offense, what's your name? So, actually, start to seal and walking up the lane, like getting to there, bang, that way. Driving up the lane, alright, and then you can just rip it and drive it as well. So, passing lane, driving lane. So, I guess my point about, getting back to your question about how wide, even if you're sending a baseline, your feet are still outside his feet, it's just the angle of the body's different, so this defensive scheme sends it that way. But the problem with this is, whatever your rules are on the ball, your rules off the ball need to work with that. And so, if you play the post on the high side, and so just jump around 1 foot outside and 1 foot inside, no, not the other side please, on the high side, I'll call it. So, those two are inconsistent, they don't work together.
Would you front that?
You could front it and drive them back, or you just play the other side. So just now go around to that other side, and put your left hand up, and your left foot up. So now, on the ball, get in stance, put your left hand up and out. So now the pass has actually got to go past one defender and the second defender to get in. And again, on all scenarios, we would have help D on both, whether you played high side, fronted, or whatever. So the takeaway point is, whatever you choose to do with your defense, there's no right or wrong. Virginia, go the other way. Go take away the baseline. It's not allowed to go baseline. Do you know the University of Virginia, the national champions from the NCAA a couple of years ago? Yeah? Yeah. So they're a no baseline team. If you get beat baseline, they sub you out automatically. So if you were a no baseline team, you'd probably play on the high side. Does that make sense? Yeah. Cool. Alright, so let's get back to our example. So next to it, we'll just keep rotating bodies and we'll build it up. Like number 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, so 10 stands for it. Junior, right? Okay. You're in triple threat, you haven't done it, so okay, get down in the threat. Alright. So what we've worked on heavily now with our feet is that we want to minimize the amount of options the offense can have by basically going, we're going to take away your dominant side, or we're going to prepare ourselves to deal with that. And so if you do beat us, it's going to be to your weak hand or your non-preferred hand. So I'll take the junior slot for a second. Just a little closer to it. You got that range, have you? You got Steph Curry range? Coming in. Okay, so right hander. So if I play D for the Rams right now, I'm going to be squared off. So we're never going to give an angle because anyone can go on a straight line if you give them a head start, and that also gives a lead foot, so you can step over my lead foot. So I still play fairly square, but instead of being body to body, I'm just going to be body to dominant kick. And so what that does is, and now we're in strike distance camp, so Mel stuff, so we're kind of strike because we want to take away vision, make you think more, pivot to protect the ball. Right, so get the stance, right, so one like that, what you're going to do, yep, so straight away. So that's disruption. That alone is disruption. Now, because I'm playing here light, my feet relaxed, okay, if you try and get on your right hand, slow mo, I'm not an athlete, so okay, bang, short step, I'm already there, and I take a chest strike. And some of you guys did a good job of that before. I just taken some hits on the chest. So I've done half the work. I'm already here for a shot, hand over the ball, easy to get a hand over the ball. There, I can pressure the passing lane here. You go over and rip it through. I'm there, maybe if you're loose with it, I can dig it. So what I do give up, what have I given up by hedging my bets this way a little bit? Left. But now, so if you fake this way, I'm here, if you go at the rim over the fake, so you jab at the rim and try and drive right, boom, he doesn't want to hit me, that's what. So then I can take a hit on the chest, and I can actually get in and make him now pivot backwards and get back on his feet. So instead of traditionally we used to gap, maybe you still coach that, so if you jab, this is what was often taught, jab, you gap, now you've got time and space, now what are you going to probably do? Yep, you're going to come back up, and so now I've got to do more things, as opposed to, and he's got space, he's got time, he's got some rhythm for his shot, as opposed to if you jab, boom, hit on the chest. Captured him. You've got to do something. And if you go that way, already there, I can slide and get them above the elbow, and I've done a pretty good job. So, does anyone want to unpack that?
Do you get, once you take that chest bump, do you get, or are you straight away climbing back up and then forcing them?
In that particular context where the player's got the ball and they're playing with it, if they try and get it on their dominant side, we capture it and we stay in. Because we want them, because their legs stuck between ours and they've got to pick it up, and as they pick it up, you stay in, and now they're like that. That's what I mean by being aggressive.
Come back, you're moving up with them.
You can stay in them, because if they're moving backwards, you kick wide and you keep crawling up and in. What do you teach when they put the ball above their head? Pull up and in, keep the ball up above their head.
You want them to pull up, you go up, and then you can go back into your position.
Yeah, back into the neutral position. If they get back, kind of ball back in their pocket, and they're, are they going to drive it? Are they going to go? So up and in when the ball's up. Right, so let's just do. This is got the real quick. We'll go both sides so everyone's warm. So half on that side, half on this side. What is George? You want to just help a little? So the offensive play, just do this. Boys, just throw the ball out, square up, and all you got is 5 seconds to try and get the defender off balance with some fakes. That's all you're doing. You've got 5 seconds to try and get them started. Okay? And then go and then keep cycling through. Then the next one offense. So play that. You get ready? Spin it out to yourself. Yeah, catch, square up. Be a threat. Be a threat. Good. Right. Quick. Excellent. So real quick drill. Here we go. And then go back the line. Just have a look. See if you can put it down. Good. Rotate. Down to 5, right? 5 seconds. So we get to see how the defender's head's flat, like too upright. Head below shoulders. Keep your head below shoulders. The ball goes up and maybe up like that, so you can up it in with your hands, but still keep your hands down low. Good. Good. Okay. Questions about that? Feet, guard, feet, strike hands. So the style of play stuff is in one of the attachments, and we use a lot of words about ball pressure, striking, ball, that sort of stuff. So there may be a small variation around so that's the bit around just as a coach or something. But the actual overriding thing about being disruptive and being in the ball, like that's the stuff that's it's just how we do about it. Alright, so boys. Okay. So this is what we're going to do. You're going to play off your jabs. You guys will go base. You guys will go to the middle. So throw the ball out, catch it, square up, try and get it on balance, and when you want to go, go. And when you drive it, so let's get it out here, what's your name? Scott. That's me. Cool. Alright. Okay, so Scott, you got the ball here, you'll flip it out, you'll catch it, you'll be an absolute threat, make some great D, and when you choose to go, you can go, and I want you to try and shoot a jump shot from the elbow there. Okay? Your job is to get it above the elbow. So Mel's got there's a handout. She's got a really good little diagram about the angle of attack. And so as you watch this here, if the offensive player drives, and obviously going to dead straight right into the rim. There's no defensive scheme in the entire world that can stop that consistently if you get blown by over and over and over. Alright? But if you can make them go wider and wider, the wider it is, the more successful, the more east-west we call it. And she's got like a little graphic with colours. So basically green light is when you get them out wide, that's a great job, and then a bit of orange, and then red if it's a straight line drive. So it's really in your half-court philosophy, we call it push points, or where are you sending the ball to, which we send to our pack help, our hunters. So, alright, so do we got that? So we've got a couple of seconds to try and break and defend it down, and then defense. Listen up. Slide with them they're going to at some point go up into their jump shot, and we want you to be second off the floor. They go up, you're long and low, they go up, and then you can test with both hands up at the end of it. Does that make sense? Alright, let's have a look. Here we go. Right, go. Rotate. Walk back. Like right bodies, like understanding spaces. What do you teach about where their eyes are at on feet? I haven't addressed that yet. I'm about to cool.
Logo or number on the jersey?
Yeah. Alright, three. Real quick feedback for everybody in the gym. With your eyes, you want to keep your head centered, so come out, junior, play some defense here. Alright, get your head below your shoulders. There we go, that's a stance, look at that. Alright, so get down nice and deep. Okay, eyes, center mass, the biggest part of his body. Alright, the ball, his feet, his eyes, they can all fake you out. Alright, that's why you can jab, because we're trying to get you off center. Move the ball around, get you distracted. Eyes, we get you distracted. Block all of that out and just look at his center mass. He's not going anywhere without his body. Okay? So that's the number one thing. Right? Get your eyes sitting down, tracking the center mass. Out of your, so that's your primary vision, your peripheral vision, you're aware of if he jabs, you've got to adjust your feet. Feet. And the last part is, you want to be an active defender, you just want to be relaxed. And the best example I can use is this. Just where you're standing right now, just bending knees, get a defensive stance. But now put your arms straight and pull them out in front. What do you feel with your body when you do that? What muscle starts to get tense? That one? Yeah, deltoid? Yeah, shoulder muscle. So, I haven't done that here yet. It's all good. Right. So, if you have tension through your neck and your shoulders and your back, like you can't move. So this is whole thing about defense being really active, looking aggressive, but actually being really relaxed when you play. And the best defenders move efficiently because they're relaxed and they're ready to, power off their legs, but their upper body's loose and they look ready to go. You get that? So, head on chest. Okay. Primary vision, head on chest, peripheral vision. Right, be aware of these other things. Try and stay nice and relaxed when you play the game. Now, offense. You can go pull-up jumper to your left hand, or if you think you can take it at any point to the rim on your right, you can go to the rim. Does that make sense? We're going one side then the other. We'll start with each side. Good, you guys are running through it. Good. Side that side. Go ahead. Right out yourself. Again. Right out. Square up. Next, let's go. Go. One after the other. Straight arms. I mean, you guys feel free to jump up, sure, but just feel understand your body. You get straight arms. It's sort of, you get so much tension. It's very hard to do. Whereas if you're relaxed and you've got bent elbows, you can actually, it's like pulling the rope. You've got a big roll of rope to pull through, like these arms to help you move. You're relaxed. Okay, next. There's no way in hell I'm getting through this whole practice swing. The other bit is adolescent kids. They have real physiological reasons that don't allow them to get into an athletic position, maintain the athletic position, and then move efficiently in an athletic position. It's just the way it is. So that teaching's got to be ongoing. It's not giving excuses to it, that's just the way it is. You're coaching it, you've got to give them the flexibility, functional strength to be able to move, but you can see obviously going through the periods of growth person, they're just sort of ready to roll and stuff like that. long as the effort's there, though. If the effort is always there, that's okay. If you've got to create an effort plus there, that's a steep hill to climb. Alright, we go. Okay, George will be there, I'll be here. What's your name? Oscar. Alright, so with conviction. Alright, you're on my team now. We've got some swag up team. So Oscar, you go down, spot up, ready to bomb 3, and then defensively. What's your name? Jake, very polite Jake. Alright. Okay, so the ball is here, and I'm playing the game you just played, right? Your job, you saw on the video, okay? Your job is to put your body in a position. Let's just have someone play the on here. Quick round and play the on here. Is to narrow the floor. So as I look at the basket, I've got no room to drive, or there's a bit of doubt there, I'm not sure. Okay, so that your position has got to be that. Okay? Or if someone cuts, get your mitts out, get your length out, get your arms out, your right hand, get your left arm out. If I go make a pass, see how we create some doubt. Oh, I'm not open. Or if I throw it, maybe you get a deflection. So your positioning has got to be that. But your job is to stop his 3 ball. Okay? Because that's Tyler Hero or whoever else out with Dan Robinson, the guy who shoot the lights out. Okay? So what we're going to do is this. I'm going to play off pivots for now. Actually, I'm going to play off the bounce. What information do you see to tell you to get out of your hunting stance, your help stance, and get into guarding your player? Okay, so you're going to be in position. Ready? In position. If I pass on the ball, ready? Any comments, coaches, on that? What's the trigger? What are they looking for?
As soon as the ball leaves the hands, rather than on the catch.
Leaves the hands. Fly to the ball. Fly to the ball, yeah, all cool. Acronym, like, sorry, saying. Joel's pointing, that's a good visual cue.
When the dribble ends, you pick the ball up.
Awesome, you're on my team. Alright, even better. And again, air time's out time, fly to the ball, all that stuff, cool sayings, but even better, because he's like, if it hits his hands, he's like, ball, and 0.6 of a second, it's gone. Okay, so you only fly on the feet, ready to go. Alright, I've got the dribble here, I'm dealing with this. You're already there. Okay, now, personal preference. We teach, you've played for us, right? You get a hand in the passing lane, not your body, so even deny even more. This way. So block, so I'm going to make a pass right down this freeway here, put your body on the road. What does that do? It invites a backdoor. And again, our whole defensive rules is we want to limit layups, foul discipline. We want to minimise that. So go back and just block the road with your hand, use your length with your hand. So here's the road, walk straight line. Right side of the ball, pick it up, you're gone. Hand in the lane. Good. What are you going to do on offense? Work harder to get open, right? That was the answer you're going to say. Right, just for the expediting the clinic. So that's disruption. We've stopped an immediate straight line pass. Now I've got actually pivot, or maybe you've got to lead out a little bit more, or you've got to post him up and seal him up, try and get it. And so that lag time, that delay, there's another second or two on the shot clock, and it all adds up. So they're the subtle forms of disruption, I think, that can really help your team. Blocking the road, blocking the passing lane. So all you do is first side, real quick. Do you good and I'll do it. Just start for now in your pack hunting stance, ready to help. Okay, we're here, and as soon as you see that trigger, you got to get there. Good, that's it, rotate quick. Next one, quick, we go, touch the ball. Ready, pack, finish, ball wide, yeah, so stay there, good. Maybe a little bit closer to this. It's good, the defense is working. Almost out. Maybe someone in the coach this where you close out the outside and you try and pick off. I don't like it when some coaches coach that because they've got other rules behind it. They actually invite backups and then they rotate on. But personal preference. Alright, here we go. You stand. Oh, that quickly you're reacting. So you just have to pick up one dribble. Okay, ready, go, rotate. Quick. 3-point line, just one 3-point line. see how he runs that way? Saying it like there's things that I think we coach. We make sure what do the kids see? What's the trigger? So yeah, the answer was I agree with anyway. I think that's the way to read that trigger. So an extension to this drill, offense. Just start with a 3-point line, breaks, so where it goes from straight to curve, that's the break. Defense, play your pack up. So the ball's here, it's a little bit long pass. If you want, you can just slide to the corner to stretch him out, or you can lift up. You go back again, you can move a bit, alright? So now you just start to move a little bit. So you stay dead still if he moves. What's your objective? Well, the ball's here, the dribble. What's your positioning? What's your actual objective? What are you trying to do? Yeah, I want to help you out. While the dribble's alive, what's the objective? The 3, or anything that's penetrating, which is a bit more important initially. The penetration. Alright, with 80-90% shots, or getting fouled and going to the free throw line. Because then we can set up our first D as well. Alright, so where you stand in body language, in your length, alright, be active, try and determine if you're driving and passing to someone in there, but the whole time you know that you're going to get to him. Okay, let's have a look at that. You can move just up and down in that area. Okay, ready? Can you see him? You need to be able to see both your player guarding the ball at all times, alright? So whatever that means to you. Back, you don't keep going. Keep going, back, you move. Alright, so now just with a bit of movement, the reaction time is slow, alright? When I picked up my dribble, there was that little bit of a lag. So again, that's just a natural extension now, making it more dynamic and let it move. Okay, you guys should run the same drill without me coaching at the top. So someone dribble it and then make the pass. Ready, here we go. Quick, let's go. Who's on O, who's on D? I got D, I got O. Good, close out. Keep your body between, hands up there. Keep your body between all the passes. Pass up. Big break that. Good talk. Good job. Okay, more head swivels, that's a great question to talk about that. There's a bunch of varieties. I'll let it get one through one, and I'll rest. One more rest, there we go. Alright, stop there. If you're an offensive and you want the ball, what should you say to help your teammate react quicker? Show him something and demand the ball. Okay? Alright? Okay, there's a question about do you have your head on a swivel? How deep are you in that pack help? So there's the ball there, triple threat. You can go do some defense on the ball just for now. Who's our shooter? Yep, good. Alright, so where are we? National style of play. The documentation right now is get your feet towards your player, not the ball. They've got a preference for that. My personal preference is I just think you should have a boot in your hand on the ball and a boot in your hand on your play. Keep them more open. Because I still think you can turn and sprint to close out. If you have your feet facing your player, what's the benefit? Yeah, you can get there quick because you're already facing that direction. There's no hip rotation. What's the downside to that?
You're not shielding it on. You're not deterring it on. You're opening it up.
Yeah, and this came about because people were concerned if you pack it in, you're going to give up threes. And it all comes back to, can you teach the athletes to be able to read the game, see the game, and make decisions? So that thing about the trigger, something as simple as that. Like you can time kids on reaction over and over and see how quick they can react to when they should get out of pack help to denial or the ball's dead. So I just personally like a neutral stance because I think if the head swivel thing, small swivels is great. If you turn your head so your chin's on your shoulder, what could you do? If you saw me do this in the game, yeah, back cut, absolutely. Smart players are going to back cut hard. Okay, they attack your spine. Alright, they attack the back of the head. Okay, so short swivels is fine, keeping head on the swivel, seeing both. Now, how flat's your triangle? Depends on how athletic you are. So, and a little bit too, this is getting a bit more advanced now. If he's super quick and that's a mismatch, I might just get it a bit deeper because I'm, hey, I really got to give this guy some help and really strengthen the floor here. If that's a pretty neutral matchup, or we've got a great advantage there, I've got a great shooter here, it's Kirk Penny, well, it might actually be, no, so I just flatten my triangle out. So that's the sort of stuff, fun you can have when you start coaching, when they've got the foundation down and the basic principles, and start really asking questions about, hey, should you flatten it out or should you have a deeper triangle? When it comes to, that it's all your positioning. The concept is positioning, and then you can get into how you want it to be. Does that make sense to you guys? Best shooter in the NBA, I'm going to flatten it out because I really want to recover. Now, if I flatten it out, I might still edge in here, and I know I'm going to get there and get to that three-point shot. Okay, I'm going to try and fast forward. I apologise, I always take too long in the first stuff, and then got to try and catch up time. We want to get into a little 2-on-2 game. So this is the drill. We might not go there so you guys move. So we just shot 5 days for it to make sense. So just give me 5 blacks on offense. And so back over here, ball, black here, ball. Black in the corner's good. Another one there is good. Someone down here in the post area. And everyone else match up quick. White match up. Let's go 5-on-5. We're just going to demo and then play 2-on-2 in a particular drill. So 5-on-5, balls on this side. And maybe they set a pick and roll, or there was a breakdown. Like, you know the one in the video where we made 4 passes? There was just a breakdown. So 2 defenders got committed to the ball temporarily. Or intentionally, if you're like trapping an on-ball screen or blitzing an on-ball, if you put 2 defenders deliberately on the ball, it's going to be 4-on-3 on the rest of the court. So let's just say you came up, set a ball screen here, like this, you come up on Z, you're chasing over, you'll give a little bit of help there, and then you roll out. So in a moment in time, there was 2 defenders committed to the ball. So now there is 4 players off the ball. On offense, and how many defenders? Okay, so for us now, we come out of the pack and we get ready to rotate. And we call it raiding. Oh, there's a bit of a thing. Alright, the raid party, we get ready to rotate. So the player closest to the basket, which is the player that's, you're the point guard on defense right now, to see how you're really low and you see everything in the game above you. The most important thing is stop layups. So who's the biggest threat right now? Alright, so we've got to stop that layup. Okay, so now what's the game? 3-on-2. So you use 2, do the best you can, you've got to deal with these 3. Okay? So we stop the layup, or at least getting ready to go there. So you're rotating. So now you've got 2, and you've got 2. But what's the easiest pass for this player to make? 1 pass away. So you've really got to favour this. So just come here and shorten it, you've got to double set. So you're getting ready to deal with that one. So now we've got this play here, which is we call on the backside, we've got 2 guys, we'll take 2 play. So it's the rover position. You've got to deal with 2 players until we can get out and get 2 players on the ball off it. Alright? So that's throwing back the pass. And the nearest guy's going to go to the ball. Let's just say the player came out and blitzed the screen, you turn and sprint. So you came out really aggressively like that. The pass went and just turn and sprint. And now we need to communicate because you've got 2. They're going to pass it to somebody. Alright, and we've got to rotate. The decision we've got to make is who's the next nearest guy. So as the ball moves, could you have got there and then you take him? Or do you have to run a really long closeout? Okay, so let's just do that 50%. When you catch the ball, just hold for a second and then kick it on so we all see it. So let's go ball screen track. Okay, good job. Bang, good, rotate. So, again, good offense, obviously lots of teams. Who runs a pick and roll? Side or middle? Or, right? That's why screens are set to create these advantages. So we're going to go back to a 2-on-2 drill, and we're just going to work on sort of this part of the back side here. So all you guys, just come to halfway. This is the drill we're going to do. Half on the ball, please. Blacks on offense. Do you stay here? Do you stay there? Alright. can you just split this high hash with your feet? So right here, like that, get ready. Alright, just come over here. You're our rotate. Something happened over there, and then you're flying back into the drill. So I want you to start in the charge circle. Alright, so all we're going to do is work on this. Who's the nearest player defensively to the two offensive threats? What's his name? Good. Alright, so when the ball goes, okay, to either player, who's getting it? That, yep, and so where do you go? Deny? What do you guys reckon? Yeah, that's the one, you got it right. You need to hunt. This is where it gets hard because it's happening fast. So come back again, ready? The ball's here, and there, you get ready to close out. 1, 2, and that happens quickly, you gotta get there. Okay? Your first responsibility is to provide your teammate with some help by shrinking the floor. Okay, so hunting that pack. If he quickly whips it there, then that's you, and you've got to close out. Then where would you go? Good. Alright, boys, you can shoot a 3. If it's wide open, you get it back automatically. If you get an open 3, you get it back. Okay? Or, even if it's an airball. Alright, you don't have to worry about that because you're going to hit the rim at least. Alright, so shoot open 3s. Okay? Or score in the paint. There's no screens. And you have a 5-second shot clock. Make a play. You ready to make a play? Ready? Alright, I can try to get the guy. Okay, ready? Stands. Shit, no carryover. What's supposed to happen when I pick up my dribble? Bad coaching, right? You want to carry over from one concept to the next? Okay? Fellas, let's go. Triggers, ball's being dribbled. 5. Okay, go back to the same spots, quick, go. Just do a couple of reps, get our coach's eye on, see what we see. Ball's being dribbled. Alright, picked up. Rotate, the other guy's play deep, quick. 2 shooters on offense. We call bombers, you're on the weak side, ready to bomb away. Ball's here, can you see the ball? Alright, why do I say stand there, around that area? There's no exact science for it. Why out there? Do you guys hear that? But even though inside a building isn't a library, okay, you can use your outside voice. Okay? Be dominant, be assertive. Be wrong, but be 100% wrong. Okay? Because it's not about whether you make the right read or not, because that's what we practice. It's just like missing shots or making shots. So making the wrong decision is fine if you're 100% committed to that. Alright? Make it be wrong and loud and commit to it, and then we'll fix the decision-making process. That's why we train. As opposed to not making any decisions. I'll just go make a decision. You are there because he's a bit closer to the ball, so you need to be ready. But you're also in the gap between the two, because if I throw the long one, you can also get there. So your job is you go wherever you think you need to be to get to both guys as they catch the ball. You've got to stop their 3. You've got to make them do something else. You ready? So I'm going to stand here. You get to where you think you can be athletically. Alright, ready? You've got to get the guy. Line your feet, ready to go. See the road. Ball's picked up. Oh! Go again, go again. Alright, ready? We go. Stop. Get in 5 seconds. Here we go. Rotate. Quick. Here we go. So ready? Ball's picked up. And ready. Go back. So I've done a trick question here. No one's commented. Doesn't feel weird. If I pick the ball, how do you know who to go to? Did you know all that? Oh, yeah, that's a great answer. Now run that one back again. You're going to go to him.
Oh, yeah, so I'm going to see first pass. I'm going to go to something.
Yeah?
And then the ball takes long.
You guys heard that? That's an awesome answer. We couldn't argue with that as a coach. But you don't know who I'm passing it to. But you've chosen. Now, how can he action? alright, or react to your action. You're going to start taking this. So I wanted to try and find some example to get into the star thing. So the seeing thing's been a challenge. The talking thing is obviously, it's worse than COVID. Talking for teenagers in a basketball context is really, really challenging. So we just got to keep supporting it, give them chances. But the whole act-react thing. You know what I reckon would help? If you knew that, right? If you know what's going on, so it's not so important about what you do, because then he still needs to read what you're doing. If you already know what you're going to do, what's the next best thing? Tell him what he needs to do. Alright, so based on everything that you just said to me, which was an awesome answer, what are you going to tell him? Beautiful. Take corner. Short, sharp, direct. Unreal. We got that? What if I throw it to the corner? Okay. Alright, let's see. Okay, ball's live. Ball's live. Offense stays the same track. Offense, blacks on offense, lights on deep. Ready? We'll see you. Oh! You have a good chance. There's a free shot. If you shot it, you get it back automatically. Go again. Okay? Hey, how do you get better at making threes? You shoot them. Alright, here we go. Alright, ball's live, ball's dead. Alright. This whole thing we can unpack for the next hour. I love, what was your name again? Ashton. Yeah. Ashton. Love, he had a, no, I'm going to do this because this is what makes sense to him and there was no problem with that. So with our rules though, the rover is going to take the first pass. He knows that the first pass is the most important thing. So again, in my experience, when it's live and it's 5-on-5 and things are happening fast, it's really, really hard for that low defender to get all the way out to the corner. So we want to minimise rotation. So when you read up on pack stuff, you'll hear a lot of stuff about pack is about minimising penetration and rotation. Because as soon as you can get a team in rotation, there's obviously a numbers advantage. And
That
so
guy's not moving until that pass is actually gone.
let me show you what we do with the Reds. And again, it's hard. I try to show 5-on-5 one little example. Right, so you super smart, but I want you to do it a different way now. Okay? Right. You're a low guy, you're a captain down there, you're a rover. The ball's here, alright, and when I pick it up, the ball's dead now. Put your body in a position to split the two so you can get there as soon as it leaves my fingertips. And you're going to take the first pass. That's fine. Ready? We're going to do it. Ready? We're going to do it. Okay. Ball's wide, active. I drive in, stay where your position is. Ready? Ball's picked up. Oh! What's that there? Got a deflection. He went for the home run play to try to get steal, but guess what? It didn't come off, and now they got an open free. Okay, you're going to shoot that, right? Yeah. Go again. All right. Not a big fan of Hail Marys, but hey, if you're going to get it, you've got to get it. Okay, especially that close to the rim. All right, here we go. Active stance. Good. Hey, ball went there. Where do you need to go? Yeah, so see how much is going on now? We did closeouts before, nice and controlled, really neat, one-on-one, not much space. Now it's like you got to make decisions on who's going where, you got to close out the space. So let's just do it both ends because you guys have been standing there for a little bit. Can someone be the passer? Right, do you want to be the passer? Let's get this reps, good. You got 5 seconds to score offense, we'll get an open three. Okay, we're going to start to get out. Play. You go. It helps the team if you take shots. We go, ready? the outcome, and the outcome is we want the rover to take the first pass out. Here we go. Dribble, the action on the toes, get there. Right, so you pick up the belts. Or, at least what you're doing, but if you can tell your teammate, tell your teammate what he needs to do. Take corner, take wing. Okay, you've got to say one of those two things. You're the rover, which name is it? Jake, you have to tell your teammates to take the corner or take the wing. Alright? Up your stance. Did the right closeout and he said take corner. Took 3 reps, but he got there. And he went from a real low base in the first one and he made it. Here we go. Start surfing defense. Go. Stop. Stop with 3. Well, 3's worth 5 points. Stop 3. So this is what we're looking at, coaches. Active. You got the first start to get your way out, and then you're starting to work your way out, so you shorten your recovery. Now, he is playing 6 years guarded and pressure teams, and he hasn't been able to make it far. I might say, take top. And I'll tell you what it does. Does that make sense? It's like, go back to I'm going to finish with one 5-on-4 drill, which is going to look like, I guarantee you, it's going to look like an absolute mess. But at least you guys see it. Alright, down here, George. Let's start out there. Give me 4 whites, this is the way I did. Give me 5 blacks around the 3-point line. And then 1 white. And halfway. Facing the other end. Alright. Has anyone watched that TV show now, Holy Moly? I was aware of it. My 7-year-old daughter makes us watch it. So this is like the penultimate hole in Holy Moly, like the hardest drill. Okay. Black, your job. Shoot him open. 3. We'll get away. You got that? Each player, if you catch the basketball, you got a maximum of 2 dribbles if you need to use them. But you can keep passing. You can cut. So there's no screen. You can't screen anyone. So you just pass, cut, drive, get a layup or an open 3. Does that make sense? That is your objective on offense. Defense, you're at a disadvantage. You just run back because Joseph, maybe you did a layup, missed it and felt, it was on the ground, so you're running back. So it's 5-on-4 right now, and you've got to buy time until Joseph can get into play. You have to stop layups and get to 3. So they get an open 3, they get it back automatically. Shoot an open 3, it's a free shot, whether it goes in or not. Okay? So your priority is what? The objective of the mission is to buy time to get your teammate back to 5-on-5. But to do that, the plan is to stop layups, open 3s. Okay? Do you think you're going to need to talk? Yeah. Tell your teammate what to do, or as a bare minimum, tell your teammates what you're doing. I got ball, take corner, take top. Does that make sense? Alright, now, when you get back to the drill, if they shoot it, you're ready. If the ball gets inside the keyway, you're ready. Or if they make 3 passes. So turn around and face that way. How does he get rid of that? Alright, let's see how it goes. Understand? Ready? Does anyone emphasise calling a shot, like when you're on D that you should call out a shot? You coach your kids to
Try to take a box out.
It shows in this drill, right? Because obviously because of the constraint, but in the game, you could be dealing with a staggered screen on the weak side while the guy with the ball on the ball sides, shoots a 3 or 4 on ball or something like that. So I don't think it's a silly thing. I think you should actually have demand the kids yell out shot, so it does trigger. Stop what they're doing right now and then get into the rebounding contest. I think it's really important. This possession is key to the game. Here we go. Your teammate's already leading behind the serve, alright? You need to get back to the top of you guys. So while you're dealing with taking the ball, stopping, so the ball's the thing that goes in. right? So stop the ball, take the basket, because that's the layout, and then get to shoot it. Ball, basket, shoot, ball, basket, shoot. Stay in again. Okay? So when you're flying around trying to make decisions, that's what you need to do. Someone's got to guard the ball, take the basket, get to shoot it. Alright, here we go. Active stance. Ready? Active stance, go, play. Who said three? Who had to repeat it? Did you say it louder? Sometimes our first instruction is not heard because the game is noisy, so repeating it loud and clear is important. I don't think, I've heard Evo, I was at early, loud and often. I don't think you can say it 5 times. It's just not practical because the game moves too fast. Like, if you can't get it right after two, then you're in trouble. You know, like loud. Alright, getting better. Project, that's all we ask. From one great defensive possession. How can you help him know about the 3 passes? You're on the other team, stop helping him. Yeah, no, that's all right. Yeah. Count passes. Alright, so you're going to count passes. You're going to call out ball. You're going to yell out basket. Okay? You good with that? What if it goes in paint? Okay. So, what would be even more effective than counting passes? Yelling out paint, the ball goes in paint. Yell out shot, shot goes up for short. Or, what's a word that you can use that will describe what do you need your teammates to do? Come in. So, what's the quickest way to get them to come in and go? You know your teammates? What their voices sound like? That's the easiest instruction on using standing here and hear something and then turn it all out in the drill. So we'll be going for 3 minutes now. After the first possession, you need to know the second possession, you need to know the third. Fellas, say my name. So when you hear Troy, turn and run. Okay? Alright, we got that. I mean, this is drawn out to the coaching clinic, but I think just keep finding ways to having a chat with the players about how they can talk. They've got to bring their personalities and that to the floor, but they have to talk to perform. If you don't communicate, then you have real big lag times, increased mistakes, whereas if you communicate, you reduce defensive decision making, all that stuff. Let's have a go. What are you going to say? North. How? Oh, beautiful. Alright, let's see what you do. Ready? Before I lose my train of thought, and if you've got any questions. The last 2 possessions, what highlighted that was if you're in rotation, what are you at real high risk of giving up? Absolutely, yeah, 3s if you're rotating, yeah, give up 3s. So, possession game's critical. You've got your defensive rules, your foundation rules, whatever they are. That's why we don't scramble, we rotate. We've got specific rules, and so we can hold each other to account. If you're in the middle of point A and B trying to go somewhere, and shots are going up, and you're really unsure, all you're going to do, if a team goes to the offensive glass, which is becoming really popular now with the jamming up sort of strategy, is that like it happened. I mean, it's only a small sample size, but it happened both times. Right? A shot went up and offense just walked in and got a rebound. So that's why having defensive rules in place so you can finish possessions well. Because it's that whole thing, right? The first 20 seconds of the defensive possession can be fantastic, and then you give up an O-ball. You know, and that is a really high return on percentage. Getting O-boards leads often to fouls, kick-out threes, advantage putbacks, like all that stuff. Good shots generally come, and the analytics would back that up on offensive rebounds. So you want to minimise the amount of offensive rebounds that you give up, and what you do on defence is pretty important to that. There's one other thing that I've lost in the offensive rebound.
So you would recommend, like, if we've got lost in the rotation, would we just find someone, make sure you're right in the box with someone else?
Yeah, so a pretty, so even just before the shot part, I set up late, but it was a really bad coaching on my behalf around ball, basket, getting threes or threes. So, because they didn't really get to the ball, and that was the point I was going to make, which is leading. If you in a numbers disadvantage and you go to the ball, and if you can't stick it, pressure it, influence it, if you just don't guard it hard enough and they just keep whipping the ball around, you just continually rotate. And eventually, you know, unless there's a bad error, they'll get a good shot. So the ball pressure becomes even more important when you're at a numbers disadvantage. You've got to get out and at least give yourself a chance to get a deflection, overplay a passing lane. So you know the one where they play it here and the player in the corner, and if you're the rover and you come out to that, you know that the next open guy is the one in the corner. So if you come out hard, you stop the shot. So if you're so Steve was here and there's another player there, pass 10 to Steve right here. And if I close out, like there's that stock standard close out, but if you know that the teammate's right there and you throw it, then I'm not going to go from ball to ball, I'm not going to get it. And that long close out to the corner, that's why you see in the NBA, they run offenses to get corner threes. And their court's a bit different too, like it's a lot bigger space to deal with. So my close out, we're already rotating, if I fly out here, I might overplay knowing that I'm not going to lay out. But I'm going to send it back to where it came from, and so we call that slicing the lane. So it's just a more aggressive version of the normal closeout. We just cut the lane off and say you're not, or you've got to, pass fake, pick the ball up, and that's all we need. You pick the ball up, and then I'm up again, and then all I got to do is buy time. 1 more second for my teammates to get into the help. So there's obviously more stuff too than the stock 10 closeout, slicing lanes, hot closeouts, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, the ball pressure wasn't very good at all. They just kind of reacted, but that's normal because imagine what was going through their heads during that drill. They're trying to process all this shit, and the coaches like talking loud to them. And, got 20 coaches up in the grandstands. So. Decision-making drills and sharing with them to like, what did you see? What do you think? What can you say? You can be prescriptive with language. That's no problem. You say we're going to say we slice lanes, we hot close it, we whatever. You can give names to help the learning, but it comes down to can the kids process it. And the one boy, Ashton, was it? Remember his very first answer, and he was right. The ball was at the top, and maybe he thought that he could get this. But when we turned it to the baseline drive. It's normally the rover that's got to go out. So, you guys got any questions? I'm sorry, I'm over. George said 9:30, so actually early. Ladies, you're very quiet.
Tired.
I'm here now. I'm here all night. I'm happy to answer any questions at all.
When you were talking about that cover 2 stuff and introducing that for the first time, you just had dribbling that pass. Did you think that things like that introduce it compared to going like a 3-on-3 and disadvantage with that bottom guys having to step up, like to see if a drive and the defender starting behind from the wing.
Yeah, advantage, disadvantage drill.
Then it gets into a stay go, so instead of those two having to communicate the close out, that guy under the hoop will have to step up to take the drive.
Yeah, we didn't get to stay goes really cleanly. I would just want to throw that 5-4 at the end. But yeah, Cam still we got a whole series of drills that hopefully you can show that just different situations. But when you're forced to rotate, we call it as the help defender. If I'm sitting in here and I'm watching the game and my player gets beat, if I think I need to stop the ball, I'm going to go to the ball and the player that got beat is going to go into a rotation, so we call that a go read. Whereas if I think he's got it under control or they've got it under control, but stay, I stay on mine, you stay on the ball. So we missed, that was the bit in the clinic, we missed a little section about the stay go reads. We really get to a good situation. I just went straight to the Rover Closeouts. So.
One disadvantage, please. You teach guys to be rotation. So I notice that these guys are kind of sticking to their man quite a lot. Like they're quite on time.
Yeah.
Not playing the disadvantage. So like one of the guys made base and he just followed them all the way, which opens it right up rather than kind of seeing the rotation also.
So if it's clean, we should just play positional basketball. We sit in ball player, they cut, we keep vision of both, we just stay in our position.
So,
but
if you've got 5 on 4, I cut through, he just
hand them off to the next player. So this is the thing, and again, I didn't say it at the start, it's the whole thing about stop the ball, protect the basket, and then get to threes, because on 5 on 4 you can't guard everything. There is no matchup. So it's a responsibility over a matchup. The ball's got to get guarded because people will shoot open shots or deliver passes, so you've got to guard the ball, and then the ball goes through the rim, and anything around the rim is dangerous, so the ball basket plays out on threats. And so the whole thing, and it's basically like a zone, if you have a really active zone and cutters are going through, hey, take cutter high, like it's that sort of situation with a numbers disadvantage. So that last drill, just wanted to just throw it all in at once and just see what unfolded. There's a lot to that. Like you see the closeouts went completely out the window, and the kid just got ripped in a straight line because the D was like kind of all over the place and anxious. So it's important that like we did the control. So big picture, showing video. Well, you know the 5 on 5. Oh, look, there's a trap over there, and now it's 4 on 3. Does anyone do 4 on 3 as well? Like you can do 3 on 2, 2 on 1, 4 on 3, 5 on 4, like any sort of advantage drill. Or you can go 5 on 5 with a little the one Cam's talking about, where it's 3 on 3. So we'll do one where you're closest. You're lucky to. So we might have a drill where it's just here. So we might do a thing where we give the advantage to the offensive player, because we make the defender start on the side, and any time between the second or the 5th dribble, you just take off. Your job is to get a layup and 3 dribbles. So on the other side, you can just have opposing player 2 shooters, 3 on 3 on the weak side. So you can give the advantage start. That's basically you're going to manipulate the drill to ensure that there's going to be more go reads than stay reads. So you drive in, you don't get stuff to your layup, I'm doing a very good job. So hopefully you can stop you, I'm chasing you down, and you can stop, that was the 3 on 3 one that we're going to do. You can just start without a dribble, and then as soon as you break the 3-point line, it's live. Lots of things that we can do to give advantages to the offense. But they're really good ways to manipulate the environment to actually get to the thing. So if you've got 10 minutes that you want to work on rotation, go reads, make sure the drills can manipulate that, which we didn't do a good job in the Rover. That was a really bad job of putting the passes at the top. Should have put the passes down a bit lower and made way more logic to the defenders. So, any other questions? So let's just go back to the start and close it all off. I guess the thing, there's an article, I think you emailed it, George, was it? So building a defensive system, that digs into it a little bit more, like why? A bit about your personal philosophy, analytics, players you know, the league you're coaching in. That has a lot more to do with how you build like the whole thing. Tonight was just a little bit of half court, but that talks about the whole defensive end of the game. Aligning your coaching personality and beliefs and philosophy with a style of play that's consistent from a general perspective with who you are as a person, because it's really hard to be a certain, like your players are an extension of you on the floor. Now you bias things and change things around to put players in positions to be successful, but that's different to the overarching vision of how you want the season to unfold and the way you want the game played. You've got to get buy-in, collective buy-in to the vision, and then obviously you can work your way through how to help people be successful in their roles and their impacts that they bring. But I think that's a really big one. So having a language document, having packages of drills that build up from showing a hole in a demo, or having like a controlled drill at the start to actually get the teaching points across, and then get them out there and play. So again, 90-minute practice session would probably play a lot more than us kind of running through an hour-long kind of clinic. But we could have just done the 2-on-2 with the Rover sort of situation. We could have just done that for like a good 20-30 minutes straight of just lots of drilling and lots of different starts to get a lot more Rover closeouts. Cool. Thank you very much for we're good. The coaches want to do a full-court defensive transition drill, so are the players okay to demo that?
I know Mick would like a red wine, and so that's my favourite North Canterbury red wine, so yes, because sharing knowledge with coaches, I'm sure there's a lot in that. Well, it was an hour and a half, but 2 hours. So hopefully that's so appreciate it. If you have any questions about the documents, ask me and I'm not better answer it. I'll ask my
You better be able to answer it, otherwise I'm not doing the job. Thanks for having me, really appreciate it. I'll hang around for a little bit while we tuck up on that if you've got more questions or want. Happy to talk groups. I didn't have to cook tonight, so I stayed. I was at the last thing. Thanks very much.
Thank you.